Let's take a look at how Specmatic can help you test 202 responses. For those of you familiar with 202, we are saying when we do a post request, and if the downstream service is where we are actually, basically creating the product, if that downstream service cannot respond back in enough time, then we cannot immediately respond back with an ID of the product and a 201 response. So instead, what we will do is we will kind of switch to an asynchronous response in the sense that we're going to return a 202 response back, which is a partial accept, and we will give a link to another endpoint where you can get the actual data whenever the product is created. So let me go ahead and include this, and let's generate an example. So we're going to say whenever I do a post, and in this case, whenever I do a post for this particular request, right? And so we will say a async request, right? That's whenever we make a request for async request, and let's say this is food and 5, that's fine. Then we expect a true or true response back. And in this case, we're using a monitor pattern. So it will return a link to a monitor, which then will actually be queried to get the details of the created product. And so this async request is essentially the name of the product. Whenever that comes, we are saying simulate a delay. So that will allow us to see if the 202 is working as expected. So with that, let me quickly save and validate. Okay, perfect. So that's working fine. Now let me go ahead and run the test. So this time we should see the 429 work, yes, as expected. However, the 202 has failed. Let's understand what happened here. So we were expecting a 202 response, but we actually got a 201 response. What this means is our mock is immediately responding back, and so we are returning with a 201 response instead of a 202. So let's go ahead and add a delay in our mock. Now what we want to do is we want to generate another example, and here what we are saying is whenever the name, remember that we said the name has to be unique. So whenever the name is a sync request, which is the name of this, and type, basically we want to be able to cater to any type. We don't want to hard code this, right? And this is where we have a little bit of a special syntax, and it's called a match function. And in the match function, we say, hey, the data type of this particular thing should be string. The value, you can get different values because this is an enum. So match each of the values, but match them exactly one time. So that's this times one. So what we are saying is this is a match function which will be used to match a request. And similarly for inventory, because we will get the min, max, and a value in between, we want to do something similar for inventory as well. Right, so we're basically saying anytime the name is a sync request, but match any of these values exactly once. So great, this is fine, but we need to add again a transient because we want this to only be valid for one combination of this request, and we want to delay, we want to add a delay in seconds, and we want to say 2. Okay, let me quickly validate this. That looks good. Let me come back. This would have restarted our mock, but anyway, I'm just going to clean this out so it's easy for us to see what's happened. And now let's go back and rerun all these tests. Okay, perfect. So you see now all of these are working. So we did have a 202. Let's quickly understand what happened here. So we made a request to /products. Remember this async request. We send that food and 5. And this, downstream service did not respond back in time. So the BFF came back with a 202 and gave us a link to the monitor. The next time we hit the monitor, and the monitor in turn basically invokes that service, and this time it did respond back with a successful response and the details that we expected. So that's another example of how we can test a 202 situation. Now, of course, we've tested for one specific examples, but what happens if we turn generative tests on and run everything? So first, let me quickly recycle the mock. Let's clear this. And now if I come back here, I turn generative test on and let me run this, right? So that test went very quickly. Now you see the two or true ones. There's a combination of these that Specmatic is going to generate. Each one is going to take roughly 2 to 3 seconds because of the timeout and then the retry on the monitor. And it's going to cycle through all the combinations of the different types. The enum has 4 types of enums that it supports. And also the inventory has a min and max constraint. So it's going to try and circle through all of those and make sure for all of them 202 is being handled correctly. So there you see 12 combinations again got exercised. And with that, you see we have 180 tests that are all passing.